I hope PPT is visible, no? PPT? Pawan or Ishan, tell me whether PPT is visible or not. Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Visible.
Okay. Just 5 minutes, I revise what you had done in the previous case. So as per heat flux equation is very important. So there is a two equation. What equation you are referring in your heat transfer is capital letter Q. That is a total heat transfer rate. Heat transfer rate per unit area is given by Q. Q is equal to minus K into dt by dx. So field variable in the case of heat transfer is the temperature. In the case of bars, the field variable is displacement. In the case of beam, the field variables are the vertical displacement or transverse displacement and rotation. When you come to the torsion of the shaft, the field variable is angular rotation. Now we have one more importance of shape function. It is used in almost all modules. So once you know the temperature at node 1 as well as node 2, so temperature at any point within the element we can get by using this equation T of xi. T of xi is nothing but the xi value ranging from -1 to +1. So xi can have any value from -1 to +1. Xi is normally 0 at the midpoint of the element. If you put xi is equal to 0, what is the temperature at the midpoint of the element we can get? So that's a generalized expression that is given by N1 T1 plus N2 T2. So normally when you're going for the shape function or interpolation function, you are assuming the polynomial function. So in this case, we are assuming that material is homogeneous, material is isotropic, and variation in the temperature within the element is linear. Hence, we are assuming the linear polynomial function. That is, the order of the polynomial function is only 1. We can say the xi to the power 1, the order of the polynomial is only 1. But in the case of beam, we have chosen the third order polynomial function like a0 plus a1 xi plus a2 xi square plus a3 xi cube. That is third order polynomial function. By using this, by applying nodal conditions, we have to get a0 and a1 by applying nodal conditions. So nodal conditions are nothing but at node 1, the xi value is known, that is -1. Corresponding n1 value is 1. We have interpolation function, its value is 1 on that particular node. Remaining all other nodes, its values are 0. That means n1 is 1 at node 1. Same n1 is 0 at other node. There's two boundary conditions. To find out n2, so there are two nodal conditions are required. So n2 value is equal to 1 at node 2, and its value is 0 at all other nodes. That is, but n2 is equal to 0 at node 1. We have 4 nodal conditions. We have 2 equations. So those 4 unknowns can be calculated. So now we have the n1. How the n1 varies within the element is given by this plot. N1 is 1 at node 1. It is same n1 is 0 at other node. So in the similar way, you have to assume the interpolation function for n2. There are 2 unknowns b0 and b1. By knowing those 2 nodal conditions, we can get b0 and b1. In mathematics, it is very simple. There are 2 unknowns. We require 2 equations. One equation you are getting when you put xi is equal to -1, n2 is equal to 0. That is the one nodal condition. And one more nodal condition is at xi is equal to +1. The value of n2 is 1. There are 2 nodal conditions, 2 equations. There are 2 unknowns. Those unknowns can be found out. In a similar way, we get n2 value. So n2 value is 1. We can see from the plot, n2 value is 1 at node 2, and its value is 0 at node 1. So you have to remember the value of n2. N2 is given by 1 by 2, 1 plus xi. In the similar way, n1 is 1 by 2, 1 minus we'll get 1 minus xi. That is the difference between those two. So what is the purpose of getting the value of n1 and n2 is, so once you know the value of n1 and n2, as well as once you know the temperature, n1 and n2 are fixed for the given element. If it's a linear element, n1 equation we have, n1 is equal to 1 minus xi divided by 2, and n2 is equal to 1 plus xi divided by 2. Those values are fixed now. Now, once you know the temperature T1 and T2 by using KT is equal to Q equation, so we know the nodal temperature. Once you know the nodal temperature at any point within the element, we can get by using this equation. T of xi is equal to N1 T1 plus N2 T2. That is a straight line. That means we know the temperature at T1, at node 1, at node 2 also known. If you draw one vertical line at different point at xi is equal to 0, xi is equal to -1, already we have drawn on vertical line. Xi is equal to +2, already we know the temperature. If you suppose we want the temperature at xi is equal to 0, if you draw one vertical line, it will intersect this point, that will be the temperature. That means by knowing the nodal temperature, we can find out or we can calculate the any point temperature at any point within the element. Hence we require interpolation from that. Already we have derived. Now we have started deriving the B matrix. So B matrix already we studied in the bars which relate the strain displacement matrix. We have formula epsilon is equal to B into Q. The epsilon is strain is equal to B into Q. Q is displacement matrix. So which relates, the B matrix relate the strain and displacement, hence it is referred as B matrix. Because in the finite element analysis of the structures, the structural analysis, so you are getting the displacement, we have displacement vector. From the displacement vector, we need to find out the strain. So what is the purpose of getting the strain is, finally we want to find out what is the stress in the body. To get the stress, we require strain. To get the strain, we require displacement. The displacement you are getting from the equation KQ is equal to F. Once you know the displacement, once you know the B matrix for the given element, so we can find out the strain. The B matrix for the bar is different. B matrix for the triangular element is different. B matrix for hexahedral, this brick element is different. So each and every element, the B matrix are different. So now you have to derive the B matrix for heat transfer element. As already we have discussed, we have the equation T of xi is equal to so and so. This is the T equation. N1 T1 plus N2 T2. That you can write it in the matrix form. N1 N2. This is a row vector of interpolation function into column vector. It is nothing but a nodal temperature vector. The T1 T2 refers to the nodal temperature vector, or sometimes it refers to the elemental temperature vector, because this T1 T2 correspond to element 1, hence it is referred as element temperature vector. But we have global temperature vector, that is different. If you have 2 or 3 element, we may have T1 T2 T3 etc. Then it is referred as global temperature vector. Now it is a elemental temperature vector. T1 T2 refer to element temperature vector, and N1 and N2 refer to elemental interpolation function. Already we have derived what is N1 as well as N2. So if you summarize, N1 formula for N1 is 1 minus xi divided by 2. That those values you have to remember, those formulas. Similarly, how you are remembering the interpolation function or Hermite function for the beam, we have H1 is equal to 1 by 4 1 minus xi the whole square plus 2 plus zeta, like that. Here also for the bar element also you have to remember the bar element as well as heat transfer element, the N1 and N2 are same. That is N1 is equal to 1 minus xi divided by 2, that is we have just derived. In the similar way, so N2 is equal to 1 plus xi divided by 2. The difference is only sign. The 1 minus, both are 1 is 1 minus zeta, and second N2 is 1 plus zeta. Now you are substituting, in place of N1, you are substituting 1 minus zeta divided by 2. Here N2. So N2 already we have derived 1 plus zeta divided by 2. Then we require the rate of temperature, change of temperature from with respect to d xi. So rate of change of temperature is nothing but, so now, so we know this temperature, how temperature changes from this point to other point. Suppose here temperature is 100 degrees Celsius. Here it will be, let it be around 500 degrees Celsius. How temperature changes from this end to other end? Or if you start heating on rod from one end, the how temperature changes from that particular end to the other end, that is nothing but rate of change of temperature, normally with respect to x, but you are following the natural coordinate system. Hence, how the temperature changes from one end of the element to other end of the element, that is xi is equal to -1, what is the temperature? Xi is equal to 0.1, what is the temperature? How xi is equal to 0.05, what is the temperature? That is nothing but variation of the temperature along the element. So that means dT by d xi is nothing but variation of the temperature along the element. We can get once we know the temperature T1 and T2 and N1 and N2. That means we have equation, this equation 2, you are differentiating with respect to xi because you are following the natural coordinate system. So along the direction of, that is, we have one dimensional heat transfer. The one dimensional heat transfer, instead of saying x direction, y direction, and z direction, you are referring it as a xi direction. So now heat transfer is predominant in xi direction. It is almost like a predominant in x direction. So x is replaced by xi in natural coordinate. How temperature varies along the xi direction is we can get by differentiating the equation number 2. We can see the equation number 2. So dt by dxi is equal to, we have same equation. After a simplification, etc., we get minus t1 by 2 plus t2 by 2. So now, most of the cases we require dt by dx. The rate of change of temperature along the length of the rod. Let's be, you are heating the rod from one end. So how the temperature changes from one end of the rod to the other end. At the tip of the rod, other end, the temperature may be at room temperature or ambient temperature. But from one end of the rod to the other end of the rod, the temperature varies. How it varies, that is given by mathematical equation dt by dx. You are familiar with this equation in heat transfer, I hope. But still I am explaining because these are required for deriving some more equations. These are the basic equations required for heat transfer, but there are 3 important derivations in heat transfer. Those derivations are the convection, one conduction equation, conduction derivations. One more is convection, convection combined with conduction, and third one is heat transfer through the fin. So that is not the regular heat transfer equation derivation. It is the equation for the equilibrium equation using finite element method. You will require 3 equations. For those 3 equations, these are the fundamental. The dt by dx refers to the rate of change of temperature along the x directions. But by knowing the chain rule of differentiation, you are familiar. Dt by dx can be written as dt by dxi into dxi by dx. By using the chain rule of differentiation, you are using this in most of the topics. In simple way, you are dividing by dxi and multiplying by dxi. But we required, already we have dt by dxi is given by minus t1 by 2 plus t2 divided by 2. So this value dt by dxi is already known to us. Now what we required is dxi by dx. For getting dxi by dx, we have relationship between natural coordinate system and global coordinate system. That equation you are using the bar, even you are using the same equation in the case of trusses also. So now, so xi refers to natural coordinate system. We have the equation 5. That we are referring this as the equation number 5. Equation number 5 refers to relates the coordinates in natural coordinate and global coordinate. Once you know the temperature, all the material geometrical properties in terms of global coordinate, we can get equivalent natural coordinate value. The global coordinate value may be 50 mm, but when you come to natural coordinate, it may be only 0.5 mm. So 0.5, not mm, it is in the 0.5. That means we have equation number 5, which relates the global coordinate x and natural coordinate xi. But what we required is, as per this equation, We have dt by dxi is already we know equation number 3 gives the dt by dxi, and dxi by dx. For getting dxi by dx, this you have to differentiate with respect to x. Once you differentiate this equation x, we'll get dxi is equal to so and so. So finally, we'll get dxi by dx is equal to 2 by le. So now we have dt by dxi. Already we have the equation number 3. Dxi by dx also we have dxi by dx is equal to 2 by le. If you substitute those equations, so finally we get dt by dx is equal to dt by dxi that already you have derived into dxi by dx. This is the equation. So finally we are getting minus t1 plus t1 divided by 1 by le. With some modification, we have the equation. That equation you have to write it in the matrix form. In finite element analysis, the major most of the time, so whatever the equation we have, those equation you are writing in the matrix form. The purpose of writing those equations in the matrix form is the finally these equations are used for development of the FEM packages. Already ANSYS or Abacus or LS Dyna, whatever it may be, all softwares they use a similar type of equation. But before writing the program, so we record all equation in the matrix form. So once it is written in the matrix form, writing the program is easy. Or macros for defining the matrix, or if you go for MATLAB, etc., just mat multiplication, mat division, mat subtraction. There are some simple codes are available. By using those things, we can write your own packages for the given application. That's why in finite element analysis, finally end with some matrices. We have dt by dx, we have equation, same equation you are writing in the matrix form. The 1 by le you are taking outside. So I am writing minus 1 plus 1 into t1 by t2. So when you write it, when we write this in the matrix form, if you multiply those two, this matrix as well as temperature vector, so you have to get back the same. We can see here minus 1 into t1, you'll get minus 1, plus 1 into t1, so you'll get plus t1, 1 by lb. So once you multiply these two, you have to get back the same equation. Now finally we get dt by dx. We have dt by dx is equal to b transpose t. So B transpose of the element you are talking about, you are deriving the B matrix, not transpose. The T refers to temperature or thermal for timing, because already we have one B matrix for the bar element. To differentiate B matrix for the bar element and the heat transfer element, we are given the subscript T. T refers to thermal or heat transfer. Into this is 1 by LE minus 1 plus 1, that is the B matrix for the bar element, into the temperature vector. T1 and T2 is referred by the elemental temperature or nodal temperature for the element. So that is nothing but we can write it as dt. Sometimes instead of writing in the matrix notation, you can write it as bt into te, because you are writing the t superscript e that refers to element, not for the complete. Imagine if you have a furnace, if a furnace wall, if you divide into 4 or 5 elements, so 4 or 5 B matrix you are getting, because B matrix is depending upon the length of the element. For one element, length may be different. For another adjacent element, the length may be different. That's why you are writing the superscript E that refers to the B matrix for the element, not for the whole structure or whole component or whole system. Finally we end with B matrix is equal to 1 by LE minus 1 plus 1. That is same for bar element. So bar element also B matrix is 1 by LE minus 1 plus 1. That already you have derived for the bar element. Now those are related to finite element analysis. One is B matrix. The two concepts you studied. Just if you go, one concept is shape functions for the heat element. So that is nothing but N1 and N2. We have derived N1 and N2. So N1 is 1 minus xi divided by 2. These are the finite element concept used in heat transfer analysis. This is the N1 value. Next one more is N2. So N2 is given by 1 by 2, 1 plus xi. That is related to finite element analysis. Then we have derived B matrix. The B matrix is given by 1 by LE minus 1 plus 1. These are the some aspect of finite element analysis are incorporated in the heat transfer analysis. One is B matrix, one more is the shape function N1 and N2. Now, before going for the actual analysis of the actual finite element analysis of the heat transfer problem, just we'll go through some of the equation, because even syllabus also they are given rate equation, steady state heat transfer equation, etc. So you are familiar with the Fourier law of conduction. So that means in simple way, your heat conduction is directly proportional to the thermal conductivity. So that means if you imagine, if you heat steel, this the copper rod and steel rod. So copper is having higher thermal conductivity. So K refers to thermal conductivity here, and steel rod is having lower thermal conductivity. The heat transfer rate is more in the case of copper rod. That's the first. Your heat transfer rate Q is directly proportional to thermal conductivity. Second one is, if one end of the rod is 100 degrees, 500 degrees Celsius, for the other end of the rod is, let it be the 50 degrees Celsius, the temperature difference is very high. So because of that, heat transfer rate is also very high. So that's why they have del T by del X. That's the variation of the temperature from one end of the element to the other end of the element. If the temperature difference is too high, then heat transfer rate is also very high. So that means when temperature, imagine you are taking out some component from the furnace, for the forging component. When it is in the red hot condition, it may be temperature may be around 600 to 700 degrees Celsius, and room temperature may be 30 degree. The difference in temperature is nothing but 700 degree minus 30 degree. That is almost 670 degree. The difference is very high. That's why within a few minutes, the temperature of the hot rod will comes to around 50 degree or 60 degree, because the temperature difference is very, very high. It also depending upon the surface area. If the surface area is more, then the heat transfer rate is more. Or in simple way, if you keep the hot cup in small cup, so it will take around 5 minutes to come down to room temperature. If you put the same hot copy in your dining plate, then surface area is more. So within 1 minute, so it come back to room temperature. That means because surface area is more, it is exposed to the more surface area. Because of that, there is a more heat transfer rate. That is the with respect to this, all the equation you studied. Again, same equation you are using here also. When you come to the units used in heat transfer, so again you are going for watts. So most of the time heat unit will be given in the watts. So and dimension also you have to keep it in the meter. So Q is nothing but watts. The Q refers to total heat transfer rate or total heat flow, that is given by watts. Then the thermal conductivity watt per meter degrees Celsius. The temperature anyhow degree Celsius. dt by dx, that is nothing but temperature gradient along x direction, that is degree Celsius per mm per meter. So area is always you have to express in terms of meter. But when you come to Q, the lowercase letter Q, so there is a difference between Q. So Q refers to total heat transfer rate. The unit of the total heat transfer rate is total amount of heat transfer you can express in terms of watt. But when you come to lowercase letter q, that is a heat flux. Normally it is referred as heat flux. The total heat transfer divided by the heat transfer area. So total heat transfer is watt divided by area. So area is nothing but watt per meter square. It is almost like a stress. The total force divided by area, that gives stress. In the similar way, heat flux. Most of the derivations in finite element analysis, you are going for capital letter, not capital letter Q. So you are getting lower letter Q. Q. That is heat flux. Now, depending upon, so it is a one-dimension heat transfer or 2D heat transfer or three-dimension heat transfer. We have Qx, Qy, Qz. In simple example for one-dimension heat transfer is, if you see the one diagram. So imagine this is a one-dimension heat transfer. Imagine left end of the wall is, the left end of the wall temperature is, let it be 200 degrees Celsius. The right side wall temperature may be 100 degrees Celsius. If it is one-dimensional heat transfer, so there is a variation of the temperature along the x direction. But there is no variation of the temperature along the y direction. That means if you consider bottom of this left surface, is already this left surface temperature is 200 degrees Celsius. Bottom temperature is also 200 degrees Celsius. If you move along y direction, temperature at each and every point is constant, same 200 degrees Celsius. So that means there is no change of temperature along y direction. The change of temperature is along y direction is there is no change in temperature. Or if you imagine you have the red dot rod, you are heating from one end. If you cut the steel rod, so if you consider cut section area, if your top surface as well as bottom surface of the cut section, maybe temperature remains same. That is referred as one dimension. In simple way, not only the flow of heat in x direction, other than that, the variation of the temperature along y direction is zero. Variation of the temperature at z direction is zero. I'm not saying that temperature along x direction is zero or y direction is zero. So variation of temperature along y direction is zero. The variation of temperature along z direction is zero. Heat is predominantly flows only along x direction. Then it is referred as one-dimensional heat conduction. You are talking about the heat conduction. In the similar way, we have three terms. We are talking about the heat flux. So you have to go derive one small equation for three-dimensional heat flow also. So that's why we have Qx, Qy, Qz refers to the component of heat flux along x direction, y direction, and z direction respectively for three-dimensional heat transfer. But there may be some amount of rate of internal heat generation per unit volume. Just I have given some example for rate of heat generation. If you consider complete internal combustion engine as a one unit, only the internal combustion engine, there is a heat source. Heat is generated during the combustion process. That is nothing but a heat generated or internal heat generation. But when you come to turbines, steam turbine, so within the turbine blade, there is no heat generation because already heat is generated, or enthalpy of the water is increased. The enthalpy of the water is increased during its heating in the boiler itself. In the boiler itself, you have the furnace. The heat is added to the water. So hence enthalpy is very high before entering into the steam turbine itself. If you consider only the steam turbine, so there is no heat generation source. The temperature may be varying from one end of the turbine blade to the one end to the other end of the turbine blades, or from tip to the other end, but there is no heat generation. But most of the cases, we assume that the heat generation rate is zero. But if you consider iron box, yeah, so there is a small heating coil. Within the iron box, there is a heat generation source. That heat generation source is given by Q dash. I am putting Q bar. So that means again, so Q bar refer to rate of internal heat generation per unit volume. You are talking about per unit volume. So that's why you have meter cube. But whenever you require total heat generation, then you have to multiply by dx, dy, dz. Now, when you come to one-dimensional heat transfer, or we have this equation. I think we have forgot to use this equation. We have K is equal to Q is equal to Ka del T by del X. So now same Q is equal to K into del T by del X. But this same thing you can write as Qx is equal to Kx into del T by del X. Now, if you consider one-dimensional heat transfer equation, del square T by del X square plus Q bar is equal to 0. That is the equation, the governing differential equation for 1D heat transfer. So where Q bar refers to heat generation. If you're going for two-dimensional heat transfer, that means that there is a variation of the temperature along x direction, as well as there is a variation in temperature along y direction also. If you see the same diagram, so suppose left end of the surface wall, the temperature will be 200. The right end of the wall is 100 degrees Celsius. There is a variation along the x direction. If you consider the bottom of the wall, if the temperature is, let it be 500 degrees Celsius, top end of the wall, the temperature is 200 degrees Celsius. There is a variation of temperature along y direction also. Then such type of heat transfer is referred as two-dimensional heat transfer. So when you say two-dimensional heat transfer, you have to remember two things. So one is there is a heat flow along x direction as well as y direction. There may be small amount of heat flow along z direction also, but compared to heat flow along x direction as well as y direction, the heat flow along z direction is minimum, or it is very, very negligible. Hence, you are assume that there is no heat flow along z direction, but z direction there is a temperature exists, but variation of the temperature along the z direction is zero. But when you come to two-dimensional, there is a heat flow along x direction and y direction. So then there is a variation of temperature along x direction as well as y direction. Suppose if you heat the steel scale, so there may be variation along the length of the scale temperature. One end of the scale temperature may be to 200, other end may be 100. Along the width of the scale, one end of the scale may having 100 degrees Celsius, other end of the scale may have 200 or 300 degrees Celsius. That is a variation of the temperature along x direction as well as y direction exists. Then such type of heat transfer is referred as two-dimensional heat transfer. It is almost like a 2D, the 2D stress analysis. In the case of 2D stress analysis or two-dimensional finite element analysis, when you apply to the structural analysis, so there is a forces acting along x direction as well as y direction. There may be small amount of forces may be acting in the z direction, or because of the external forces, the stresses cannot be neglected along x direction and y direction. So stress along z direction is minimum, hence we can neglect. Hence such type of analysis is referred as 2D structural analysis. You are assuming that sigma z is equal to 0. The sigma x and y exist, then it is referred as 2D structural analysis. But when you come to heat transfer analysis, we have two differential equations. So each and everything you are expressing in terms of governing differential equation. The differential equation is second order differential equation. Then most of the cases when you say assume the material is isotropic material, the heat conductivities or this thermal conductivities are again constant along x direction, y direction as well as z direction. But if it is orthotropic material like composite material, etc., so kx is may not be equal to ky may not be equal to kz, because in x direction there may be more amount of fibers because of let it be some you put some steel wires along the x direction. So y direction there is no steel wires, y direction. Because of that there is a more amount of heat transfer. Because of that there is a more amount of thermal conductivity along the x direction compared to y direction. But most of your heat transfer analysis, even in your heat transfer in finite element analysis also, you are assuming that so k is equal to kx, ky, kz. Similarly, you are assuming that E is equal to Young's modulus along x direction is equal to Young's modulus along y direction. That is also equal to Young's modulus in the z direction. You are referring as Ex is equal to Ey is equal to Ez for isotropic material. Here also you are assuming that material is isotropic. Hence, so there is no difference between kx, ky, kz. Then when you come to three-dimensional heat transfer, so most of the time they will go for two-dimensional heat transfer, not three-dimensional. But still there may be cases of critical component they will go for three-dimensional heat transfer also. If the thickness of the component is more, then we have this equation. This is a differential, second order differential equation, del square T by del x square, so and so, plus Q bar. Q bar refers to the internal heat generation source. I hope this PPT is visible. Yes or no? Someone can answer yes or no.
It's visible, sir.
Okay. So then, as per your syllabus, you have to go for convection equation also. What equation you are giving is with respect to your heat transfer. But as per your syllabus, you have to go for the derivation of the convection equation used for finite element analysis. But before going for the finite element analysis of the heat transfer, I have not started the finite element analysis of the heat transfer, excluding the derivation of the interpolation function N1 and N2 and B transfer. Before that, we require some basic equation. Once you know those basic equation, we can go for the derivation of three equations. One is finite element analysis for the convective heat transfer. One more is finite element analysis for conduction, and one more is combined equation. There may be some cases The heat flow may be because of both conduction as well as convection. There is one more special category is the heat flow in fins. Most of the two-wheeler there is a fins that also you have to go. So this convective heat transfer you are familiar when so whenever the heat flows from the solid body to the ambient or air, there is one way of convection, and one more is whenever heat flows from solid body to the liquid. So then it is one more there is one more convection means. So we have convection again. Convection heat transfer is again depending upon the area, exposed area. It is not a cross section area or normal area. Most of the cases, in the case of conduction, you are considering the normal area, normal to the heat transfer, heat flow. But when you come to, because when you're going for the fins or solving the problems, you don't confuse the area. Instead of taking convection area, if you take conduction area, then you lose the marks. So where A refers to, so area exposed to the convective medium. H is convective heat transfer coefficient, that is watt per meter square Kelvin. You better to remember these units also, because sometimes they give in terms of meters, millimeter square. In such cases, you have to convert into meter square. When you come to heat transfer, all dimensions you have to keep it in meter only, because finally you have to get the heat transfer in terms of watts only or watts per meter. So most of the time you are going for heat flux, convective heat flux. So we have total convective heat transfer. So that is given by watts. When you're going for the heat flux per unit area, that is nothing but Q. So Q refers to heat flux per unit area. You are divided by A. We have total heat transfer by convective heat transfer divided by total area. So area exposed to the convective medium, that is area, or sorry, you can say in simple way, if it is a fins, it is surface area of the fin. So then most of your heat transfer energy you are going for the heat flux per unit area. It is a convective heat flux per unit area. Once you divide total convective heat transfer by surface area, then you get heat flux. Most of the cases you are using the heat flux. So even in the finite, even for your mechanics of material, you are not finding out what is the strength of the steel rod. You are not expressing in terms of some tons or some 10 kilonewton or 40 kilonewton, etc. For that you are dividing by the area. For that you are getting the strength. The strength here is expressed in terms of the stresses. In the similar way, you are dividing by area. Total heat transfer is divided by area. Then it will become heat flux. And temperature normally you are expressing in terms of degrees Celsius, especially solving the problems. Those units are very important. Area also you have to express in terms of meter square. So there are as per your module 4 is considered. So there may be one or two derivations. There are two questions come. The one question then may ask complete problems itself, 16 mark problems. Total, I think as per your module scheme, it may be 16. Or there may be around 6 mark theory and another 10 mark problems like that. But the problems are little bit easy if you remember the matrices, like conductivity matrices or convective matrices, etc. Then if you know how to apply boundary condition, like penalty approach, already was discussed how to apply penalty approach for non-zero boundary condition, then you can solve the problem. That's one part. And derivations, especially those three derivations, it will be lengthy. If you practice those derivations, also easy, but unless and until you practice around 2 to 3 times, so otherwise you don't get confidence, especially those have a lot of integration and differentiation, but still you can get good marks. So now we are talking about the only one-dimensional heat conduction. So governing equation, already we know that you are considering a small element. It is not finite element. So you are considering a small elemental strip. Then the heat generated, you can see here, heat generated within the elemental strip is given by Q into A into dx. So Q refers to internal heat generation, that is watt per meter cube. So that's why you are multiplying by this unit of Q is watt per meter cube into area into dx. The area of the cross section is A for conduction area. You are considering the conduction. So heat is flows along the x direction. When you're going for conduction area, you are considering perpendicular to the heat flow, or normal area you have to consider. It is almost similar to normal stress. So normal area you have to consider into dx. That is nothing but a volume. So now unit of Q is watt per meter cube into meter cube. Finally, you are getting in terms of watt. That's why you are multiplying by A into dx. So some books they are referred as Q bar, but I prefer to use Q bar because there is a Q is referred to total heat transfer rate. So I'll prefer most of the places I'll put Q bar. Q bar refers to internal heat generated per unit area. So now the one end of the strip, the heat in is Q. Other end there is a small difference of heat, that is Q plus del Q by del X. Del Q by del X is the rate of change. Del Q by del X refers to rate of change of heat flow per unit distance or distance dx, but total distance you are considering is dx. You have to remember. So one end the heat in is, if you consider small strip, for that small strip it is not finite element, you are considering small volume. One end the heat in is q, or we can take the qx. The other end there is a small variation of the heat, q plus del q by del x into dx. Del q by del x refers to the rate of change of heat flow per unit distance or per distance dx into total distance you are considering, or length of the strip you are considering as a dx. Those notation I hope you are familiar. Now finally we have the convection heat transfer equation that already you have discussed. So you're most of the time you're going for heat flux. That's why there is no A term here. Most of your heat transfer you are considering the A heat transfer, regular heat transfer subject. But when you come to finite element analysis, you are considering the heat flow. It may be convective heat flow or it may be conduction heat flow. So that is heat flow per unit area. That's why we have Q, unit of Q is watt per meter square. Already this complete heat transfer divided by this. So Ts refers to surface temperature and T infinity refers to the ambient temperature. Or sometimes it may be fluid temperature. If especially in the heat exchangers, etc., temperature may be this heated body is directly exposed to the fluid. In such cases, it may be the fluid temperature also. Now, when you coming for the equilibrium equation, we are talking about the thermal equilibrium equation. So in the other cases, so you are studying about the mechanical equilibrium equation where KQ is equal to F. That is the mechanical equilibrium equation. You are applying external loading. So external loading is resisted by internal resistive forces. That is nothing but the equilibrium equation. Just easy to understand what is equilibrium equation is. Imagine you have the spring. So if you imagine you have the two spring, so one is having low stiffness and one is having higher stiffness. If it's the lower stiffness, you imagine you are applying certain amount of load, 10 kg of load, so it will undergo deformation because it is not having sufficient internal resistance. But imagine we have one more spring having higher stiffness. So then even though you are applying 10 kg or 10 kg of load, so the spring will not undergo deformation because it is already it has some resistance or internal resistive force. So that is nothing but in the second case you are considering. Even though you are applied the 10 kg of load, the spring will not undergo any deformation. That means the externally applied load is balanced by internal resistive force. That is nothing but an equilibrium condition in structural analysis considered. When you come to your heat transfer analysis, so we have simple equation, you are familiar. So one is heat flux or amount of heat entering to the control volume. You're talking about the control volume or considering a small volume. Control volume is nothing but this volume. So you have hatched area. This area is nothing but a control volume. So area of control volume is A into dx. So how much amount of heat is entering into the control volume plus how much amount of heat generated within the control volume, that's also equal to heat output. Heat output is heat out. So you can say heat flux or rate of heat flux is nothing but rate of heat entering into the control volume plus heat generated. The heat generated is nothing but heat generated per unit volume is Q, but heat generated for the complete control volume is Q into A into dx is equal to heat rate leaving the control volume. Heat rate, why you are using this is you are going for the heat flux. So instead of using the term heat flux and heat rate, the both are same. So whatever if you say heat rate or heat flux, what total heat transfer is divided by the capital letter this surface area. So now the amount of heat entering into the control volume, total amount of heat entering into the control volume is Q, into area. There's a total heat entering into the control volume plus the amount of heat generated within the control volume is Q. Better to put Q bar into A into dx. So Q refers to the amount of heat generated per unit volume into dx. So into dx, A into dx is nothing but a volume, is equal to amount of heat leaving the control volume. The amount of heat leaving the control volume is so Q into del Q by del X. Del Q by del X is nothing but rate of change of heat transfer per unit distance into distance you are considering is dx. So that is nothing but dx into A. The finally your QA and QA will get cancelled. Finally you get Q is equal to del dq by dx. But if you go for Fourier law of heat conduction, we have Fourier law for heat conduction is 1D heat conduction. We have Qx is equal to minus K into dt by dx. But normally you are referring as Ka del T by L. So del T is replaced by dt in your most of the derivation, even finite element analysis. In the denominator, you will have the L. When you using the same Fourier law in regular heat transfer, denominator you have L. So L is replaced by dx because we are considering very small element of small elemental length dx. Don't confuse between the notation. So dx is nothing but a length of the element. And temperature difference from one end to the other end is dt by dx. Qx is equal to finally we are getting, we have the Fourier law. We are not derived the Fourier law. Fourier law as it is we are using Qx is equal to minus K into dt by dx. Now we have the equation 1. We have equation 1 is nothing but Q is equal to del Q by del X. So we know from the Fourier law, we know the value of Qx. So Qx. So Qx value you are substituting here. Q is replaced by minus K into dt by dx. We have equation 1. In equation 1, Q is replaced by minus K dt by dx. That means d by dx is equal to minus K dt by dx. So we have, so that is minus sign. The final we get Q plus d by dx into K into dt by dx. So heat source is positive for heat generation, negative for heat consumed. There are some cases heat consumed. Heat consumed is nothing but, imagine if you put one ice cube into hot water, the ice cube will consume heat. It will absorb the heat from the hot water. That is nothing but a negative source. Normal refrigeration negative source, it will absorb the heat. But if you have a heating coil, like a regular immersion coil, so then it is a heat source. It will be positive if you, that is a standard notation you are used. But most of the cases you are writing Q is equal to, but K is constant. If it is one dimensional heat transfer, if the material is orthotropic, the thermal conductivity is most of the time it is constant. The thermal conductivity may varies if there is a huge temperature variation. Suppose at room temperature, thermal conductivity may be different, and 200 degrees Celsius, thermal conductivity may be same. But when temperature increases to red hot, above the red hot, on the plastic state, the thermal conductivity also changes, like your Young's modulus. Young's modulus, what you are referring, 200 into 10 to the 3 Newton per mm square, it is for room temperature. If you imagine, if a steel rod, if you heat the steel rod, it becomes red hot, the material becomes soft. So Young's modulus comes down, strength of the material comes down. That means Young's modulus, what you are referring, it is a room temperature Young's modulus. Even if you raise the temperature to 100 degrees Celsius, Young's modulus is almost same. In the similar way, you have thermal conductivity value. So what are the thermal conductivity value you are referring? It is room temperature thermal conductivity value. But if it is 100 degrees Celsius, the temperature, the K value remains same, almost same, even for 200 to 300 degrees Celsius, depending upon the melting point of the material. I'm talking with respect to steel. But if there is a huge, the temperature is very, very high, like 800 degrees Celsius, then thermal conductivity may also changes. Thermal conductivity is also depending on, it is a function of T also, the temperature. That's why we cannot differentiate it here. But if we assume that the thermal conductivity remains constant, we can take out K outside, then finally get Q is equal to d square by d square del square d square T by dx square. Later stage you are using that equation. Q is equal to d square T divided by del x square, K into dt square d square T divided by dx square. That later stage you are going to use that equation. That you have to remember. Next is boundary condition. I think boundary condition. The boundary conditions are very important. I'll cover this boundary condition in the next class. So before winding. Just I want to revise this boundary condition. Of most of the topics require more time. What else? I'll stop this now. So we'll discuss boundary condition and one more equation tomorrow. If you have any questions, you can discuss now. But you attend today's session afternoon. It's highly relevant to your finite element analysis. Your finite element analysis is also one part of computer-aided engineering. Computer-aided engineering part. Don't miss. At least you come to know which companies are they'll use finite element analysis, CFD, or dynamic analysis by using different softwares are available for kinematic analysis. Most of the automotives or aircrafts, some rotating elements are analyzed by the specialized softwares like similar to ANSYS. Those are what you studied in dynamics of machines. Those are the different mechanisms you studied. Those mechanisms also can be actuated by different softwares are available. So those softwares you are going to discuss. Even last year or before last year also you came and given talk to your seniors once, especially related to CAE. The same person is coming tomorrow, Mr. Vivek. Is heading one of the important sections in Hexa softwares. Originally it was CSM. If no questions, I will stop the session and I'll stop the recording.